Um, let's just cut to the chase. It's been a tough tour for you guys with the batting, and there have been lots of theories floated around. Like, so where do you think it's gone wrong till this point?
Yeah, I think obviously following up from that England series, it was tough. We faced conditions that, as a batting group, a lot of the players, probably bar Dean, hadn't experienced before. So that was a big learning experience, and obviously confidence was probably dented a little bit in that. And then we got to the first test, which obviously conditions did favour the bowlers. So from a confidence point of view, I think, naturally the batters would have been hit. And then with the last test, an area where we had been improving on as a batting group was sort of the mental errors we were making. And I think we slipped up in that area, if we're honest, in the last test. Just too many mental errors where we sort of strayed outside of our game plans. Yeah.
I guess sort of further on the same thing, I mean, attention in South Africa is now going to switch firmly to T20 with the launch of the new competition. I guess what effect do you think, does it have an effect on the first class system and producing test batters? Or do you look at a country like England that has perhaps taken the best of both with the county championship and with white ball batting as well? How do you go forward when the season is now going to be dominated by that tournament?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and it's very important. There's no substitute for experience, and you can only gain experience by playing. So the more games you play, the better you're going to get, the more lessons you're going to take. So I think it is in an important area or focus area for us as a country in terms of how we manage to still look after the first class system and 4-day cricket going forward. Obviously it's always going to be a tricky balancing act now. It's the way sort of the world is going. But we do need to find a way to balance it out. We do need our guys playing as much cricket as possible. That's the way you get better. So I don't know how specifically to answer it, but the bottom line is we need to play as much cricket as possible.
Just going to follow up just on that. But then, so how do you do it? I mean, do you fear? I remember asking Mark Boucher this before. Like, do you fear for the future of Test cricket in South Africa, or do you think there are ways that you can work within the system? Because some of these guys, if they play every Test for the next 2 years, they still might not have even played 15 Tests.
Yeah, we've got to think out of the box as a board, I suppose, or the DOC, to find ways. There has to be ways. We can't just resign to the fact and say, well, that's it, we're not going to play enough first class cricket. T20 is going to dominate. We can't have that mindset. We've got to have a mindset of saying we've got to find a way, and how we go about that. Well, that's up to the decision makers to do, obviously. But I believe it is key. It's key for us. We have to play more 4-day or first class cricket. How they balance that, obviously that's up to the decision makers to do. Yeah.
Kyle has been your batting success on this tour with a couple of half centuries. What's been the key to him being able to get some runs in these conditions, given he was quite inexperienced when he came here?
Yeah, I think the growth within his game has been tremendous. From last year, this time against India, that's when he came into the side on a more permanent basis when Quinny called it a day. He played the second test in Joburg and then Cape Town. And his growth has been tremendous, both from a technical point of view and obviously mentally. I think he's figured out in his own way how to play at his tempo. So I think his success lies very much in him being able to play to his tempo and his rhythm. And I think that's what he's done well. Whenever he's played, he's stuck to the tempo that allows him to be successful. Obviously, every batter is different. They've got their strengths and weaknesses, and he'll continue to work on his. But I think that for me is key. And also, along with that, I think he's clear in terms of his identity as a cricketer. He understands who he is and how he's going to go about making runs. I think that is a big part in batting, having a clear identity. For example, if you see Dean bat, you see the same. You know what you're getting. You see the same thing day in, day out, and you would say the same about Cullis or Graham Smith or whoever it is. They had a clear identity in terms of who they are as a cricketer, and I think he does have that. I think that goes a long way in terms of his success. Yeah.
Just on Dean, probably has another tour years after. What do you put that down to? Is it just a few unlucky dismissals, or is there something going on?
Sorry, I didn't catch the.
Just Dean,
Yes.
Dean Elgar, captain. Yes. What do you put his form on tour down to? Is it a few unlucky dismissals, or is there something going wrong?
Yeah, I mean, you need a little bit of luck every now and again. He's had a couple what umpires calls. Obviously, two dismissals, glove down leg. So it hasn't quite gone his way. He's a fighter, The tour's not over for him yet. We've still got the big 2 days ahead of us, and hopefully he can finish on a positive note. But he's trying his best. We back him. We know he's key to our batting unit. Sometimes you do need things to go your way. It's a game of fine margins. Yeah.
Justin, how do you expect tomorrow to play out? Do you expect Australia to bat for a little bit and then declare, or do you expect South Africa to be batting first thing? I know it's up to them, but what would you expect? And secondly, is it important that your batsmen don't go out just thinking survival once they do? Because realistically, it's probably going to win this test in the draw, I guess.
Yeah. So on the first question, I think if Khawaja wasn't on 190 odd, then I would say they'd declare straight away. So it depends on how they see that situation. I'd imagine they might let him go out there and try and get to that double, and then declare. But again, we're not in their change room, so it's a tough one. But if they do bat, I think it'll be up until that point where he gets to that double and then calls it. But again, they could say, right, team first, and we're in straight away. It just depends on how they go about that sort of decision. The second part is very important, I think, especially when, like we spoke about in terms of confidence, you can easily go into that mindset of, I'm trying to just survive here. And I think that survival mode is, in comparison to still being in a positive mindset, that doesn't mean you need to be reckless. Obviously, I think what Khawaja's done so well is he stayed in his game plan. He was positive, but he scored within his game plan. I think that's going to be the key for us. We still have that positive mindset. It's not just about survival for us. We've still got this game and then 2 against the West Indies to finish our season, and we want to take as much confidence going into that West Indies series as we can. And there's 2 big games there for us to finish strong as well.
Sorry for sticking with the batting. But as this tour nears an end, is it a concern, and you've done a lot of work in grassroots as well, that the top 5, leave Dean Elgar aside, the others are in their mid-30s, and you don't have like a young 20-year-old who makes an impression and you can bank on him for the next tour. Is that a concern at all, that there wasn't a 20-year-old knocking the door down and having a decent tour, or even being in the squad this time?
Yeah, I don't think it's fair for me to answer that. Obviously, I'm not on the selection panel. So, what I can say is we do have a number of promising youngsters back home who are doing well, and who are knocking on the door, and that's pleasing to see. That's as much as I can answer around that. Yeah.
And just on how today panned out, what was the mood like in the dressing room? It's been a tough tour. Were the boys eager to get out there, or they were like, let it rain for a bit?
Obviously it has been a tough tour, but they're still looking forward to the challenge. Like we just spoke about playing, and that's how you improve. You don't improve by sitting in the dressing room on a rainy day. You improve by being out there, whether that's through making mistakes or obviously having a good knockout there. That's the way you're going to grow. And I think that's important for this group, is that we do embrace those challenges, that we do look forward to the challenge, because that's what Test cricket is about, and that is how you're going to get better. So, yes, it's been a tough tour, but there still is that positive sort of, approach to it. Yeah.
And the last one over there.
You touched on a moment ago the balance Australia has to strike between declaration, Usman being on 195. Just interested in your personal philosophy on striking the balance between team and individual milestones, given cricket's sort of disproportionate focus on individual milestones, whether you think team first always has to be the way?
Yeah, I think, yeah, sure, it is a tricky one. I think there can be a number of factors that would maybe help in those decisions as to like where you are in the series, or, you know, how much impact does the specific game have maybe on the World Test Championship table in terms of where they're at. Those type of things I think have to come into it. Personally, I think it's always got to, if you've got a team first sort of culture, you're heading in the right direction. Yeah, so it is a tricky one. I think, yeah, like I said, there's probably a number of various scenarios that can determine that decision. Yeah, my personal belief is team first, yeah.